Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. Guys, we have quite a few things we need to talk about. I want to get right into it right now. This is important. I would hope you'd all pay attention to what we're talking about, guys. This is very important. First, I want to talk about a very, very bad situation over in Texas. Over in Texas, we've had a lot of flooding during the past 72 hours. Up to 95 people have lost their lives as a result of this flooding. Let me play this short video for you from Channel 8 KSBW in Austin, Texas.
Well, we're along the Guadalupe River right now, and you can see it's still rushing, not back within its original banks, but it is receding. That's the good news. This is an area where this water rose more than 20 feet in less than an hour. It reached all the way to the top of the hill and beyond, and getting into areas where it was just too much for residents to bear.
The force of that water was so insane. Nobody could get into it. My resident, that was the one that called 911. He was trying to get to the family and all the way to his waist and debris hitting him, and he was yelling, "Please throw me your baby," and they couldn't, and they got swept away.
Looking across the other side now, you can see these trees that were snapped. They're pushed over like a row of dominoes, just lining the entire river here. The damage is overwhelming. It stretches for miles. This is the kind of area that rescue and recovery teams are working through right now while keeping an eye on the sky, because the forecast calls for more rain today. The potential for flooding, not like we've seen so far, but still enough to cause problems in an area that already has all it can deal with. That's the latest right now from Kerrville, Texas. I'm Jay Gray, NBC News.
Guys, I'm going to keep this up because I want to emphasize how important this is. This is not a one-time situation. I want to emphasize this is not a one-time situation. This may happen again and again and again over the next 2 to 3 months. Hurricane season lasts until November. This is not a hurricane. What happened the other day was not a hurricane at all, but it was heavy rain, a very bad rainstorm. I'm going to spend some time to talk about this because I believe it's important. Very, very important. Okay? Now, guys, I don't often do this to get any time at all, but what I am doing today is giving you some notification on what is happening. What is happening. Okay? It's a very sad state of affairs here. A very, very bad state of affairs. Now, guys, this should not have happened. This should not have happened. Now, people are blaming President Trump. People are blaming the Weather Service, but quite honestly, neither one of them are to blame. Okay? I'm going to come right out front and tell you that. Neither one of them are to blame. Okay? Neither one of them are to blame. People are blaming the weather. Now, guys, I want to tell you this. It is very serious. This is very, very serious. Now, 4 deaths have been confirmed in Burnett County, Texas. Officials said the death toll is now 95 across the state of Texas. The vast majority of those killed in the flood were in Kerr County, Texas, home to the city of Austin. 6 people were killed in Kendall County, 2 in Williamson County, and Tom Green County as well. Hannah and Rebecca Lawrence were 8-year-old twins. Hannah and Rebecca were killed in the flash flood while at Camp Mystic with their older sister. The twins' older sister Harper was also at the camp, but she was safely evacuated. The twins' older sister Harper was at the camp, but evacuated. Flood watches remain in effect for about 5 million people in central Texas this afternoon. As that weather forecaster said, there may be more rain coming in this afternoon and this evening. Okay? The flood watch remains in effect for residents in San Angelo, Killeen, Kerrville, San Antonio, and Austin, Texas. Slow-moving showers and thunderstorms with heavy rain continue to affect parts of the already saturated region. So far today, the steadiest rain has been north of Kerrville. Flash flood warnings are in effect for locations near Junction and Brady through at least 4 p.m. Central Daylight Time, which is 1 hour from now. While some have criticized the National Weather Service in the aftermath of the Texas flash floods, an investigation has already been done and ongoing investigation occurring. I'm going to play more information about that in a minute. But an investigation was done showing that the National Weather Service issued a warning 12 hours ahead of the sweeping waters. The warning was first put out 12 hours ahead of the sweeping waters. In a statement, the agency said that its warning provided a preliminary lead time of more than 3 hours. A preliminary lead time of more than 3 hours. Now, for most people, that's well enough. For most people, that is more than enough time to get the warning out and to have an evacuation. But the evacuation wasn't done in time. The evacuation wasn't done in time. Troy Kimmel, an Austin-based meteorologist and emergency manager, believes that the National Weather Service issued timely alerts with the best information available. Now, many of you have been told, and I've been told also, that President Trump's DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, closed down the National Weather Service's satellites. That's not totally true. That's not totally true. The warning that the Weather Service pointed out that this is a dangerous situation, a very slow-moving storm. Slow-moving storms have been able to punch holes in water, literally, like a running faucet. The storms are like a running faucet, falling rain onto the surface, making things impossible on the ground. Now, it is not completely clear that these warnings were able to reach everyone. Kerr County does not have weather sirens. The National Weather Service said that it added keywords into the 1 a.m. warning to automatically trigger wireless alerts on cell phones. The 1 a.m. warning automatically should have triggered wireless alerts on cell phones on weather radios also in the area. At Camp Mystic, okay? Huge death toll at Camp Mystic. At Camp Mystic, a camp policy was posted online showing cell phones were unacceptable electronic devices for campers, for teenagers, for young girls. Because young girls play on the internet, don't they? That's why that camp had that warning. However, Camp Mystic did not realize what was going to happen this past weekend. They had no way of knowing it. None. The Weather Service issued a warning 12 hours ahead of time. 3 hours lead time after that. So anyone living in that area with any kind of responsibility should have been able to know what's going on. They should have been able to know what's going on. Now, I'm not saying that they did know. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that these campers should have known. The camp director should have known, and county officials should also have known, and at least county officials should have made their way to that camp and other camps alongside the river to put out the warnings. That's what I'm saying. Now, some people might say I'm wrong, but I don't think so. I don't think so. Now, there are a few other things that are going on here as well that I want to address here. Okay? First off, There's another storm over on the East Coast we need to speak about before we talk about almost anything else. Okay? There's a storm called Chantal. 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 Now, it's a very fast moving storm as well. Okay? But it hasn't moved fast enough. Like I said, it has not moved fast enough. But Chantal is important to understand what exactly is going on. This is Tropical Storm Chantal. Okay? It went ashore Sunday morning into South Carolina and North Carolina. Okay? Now, I have a news briefing for all of you that you need to know about. Heavy rainfall from post-tropical cyclone Chantal will continue to result in flash flood concerns across portions of Delmarva, New Jersey, eastern Pennsylvania. Isolated, scattered flash flood warnings are still possible within more urbanized areas. Life-threatening surf. For those of you that are wanting to get near the beaches, don't do it. Don't do it. For those of you that are surfers, don't do it as well. I've been in heavy weather surfing before. Don't do it. Life-threatening surf and rip currents are there. Life-threatening surf and rip currents conditions are expected to continue at beaches along the U.S. East Coast from northeastern Florida to the mid-Atlantic states, occurring during the next day or so. Beachgoers should heed the advice of lifeguards and local officials. Stay away from the beaches. Stay away from the beaches. Now, I spoke to Rebecca right before we came on the air. Rebecca told me that they had flash flooding in their area, not specifically where she lives, but outside the area where she lives. It's important to understand what's going on. Areas are still getting rain, heavy rain. Rebecca got some heavy rain where she lived even today. Where I live over in Burke County, North Carolina, we have partly cloudy skies, mostly high clouds. Yes, there's some gray clouds here, but not many. It's very humid. It's about 95 degrees and 80% humidity. Very, very humid. Okay? But this is what's going on right now. Now, we had winds, not here where I live in Morganton, North Carolina, but where Rebecca lives and other people live south of here in North Carolina and South Carolina. They had winds of upwards of 60 miles per hour, just below the threshold of a hurricane. Winds, tropical storm winds of 60 miles per hour, just below the threshold of a hurricane. It's important. Rebecca's here in the chat saying 12 people were rescued from rip currents the day before. 12 people rescued from the rip currents. Guys, if you are out surfing or trying to swim, don't do it. But if you get caught in a rip current, you need to swim in the current. Swim in the current till you get left by the current. Then you can swim ashore. If you try to swim against the current, it will pull you off even further. Swim with the current parallel to the shore, and you should be fine. Then you can swim over to shore with probably no problem. If you try to swim against the current, you're going to be swept further out. Don't do it. Okay? Please don't do it. Renee says a flash flood warning has been issued today for Upton, New York, Passaic, New Jersey, and Orange, New York as well. Guys, this is important. Pay attention to these warnings. Pay attention to these warnings. These warnings could mean your life or you being unalive. Please pay attention. Okay? We're going to get more flash flood warnings and thunderstorm warnings from Renee Steppe here in the next few minutes here. Okay? Now, Richard Smith is here in the chat that just said there's a 3.5 earthquake in the Seram Sea down in Indonesia at a depth of 17 kilometers deep. That's not very deep. That is a very shallow earthquake. I'm going to talk about earthquakes again in a few minutes. But I first want to talk about what's going on here. Okay? I first want to talk about what's going on here. Now, I next want to talk about some firefighters. We talked about firefighters last weekend. Sunday afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, firefighters over in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho received a fire call that a brush fire was in progress. So they sent a fire engine over there. But unbeknownst to them, that fire was set. Unbeknownst to them, that fire was set. Some firefighters lost their lives, didn't they? It's very sad. Very, very sad. Now, I don't know what else could have happened to possibly save those firefighters' lives. I just don't know. I've never been shot at fighting a fire. I personally never been shot at fighting a fire. But I know this. It happened. It happened. 3 good men lost their lives to those fires, unfortunately. A celebration of life for those firefighters will be held Thursday and Friday this week. Thursday and Friday this week. One firefighter is still clinging to life in stable condition in ICU in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Still there. Still clinging to life. Because some idiot decided he was going to fire on them. The 2 firefighters that lost their lives are on the left-hand side. Battalion Chief Morrison, 53 years old, on the left-hand side. Battalion Chief Harwood in the center, 42 years old, were killed in the line of duty on June 29th in a fire ambush attack while responding to a brush fire on Canfield Mountain in Idaho. Dave Tisdale on the right-hand side. He was a firefighter engineer driving a fire truck. They shot him in the back. The suspect shot him in the back, and he, like I said, is in stable condition in the ICU in the burn unit. He's still trying to recover. He's had 3 surgeries. 3 surgeries. Now, people say, his family and his fellow firefighters say, he can talk and he can see. He was also able to wiggle the toes on his feet, which is a good sign. But he has no feeling from here on down. He has no feeling from here on down. What happened Monday is unacceptable. People nationwide and worldwide have deeply felt the sting of the loss of these lives. And the people that fought fire alongside them feel deeply for what's happened. The celebration of life is scheduled for Thursday, July 10th for Chief Harwood in the middle. On Friday, July 11th at the Hagedorn Event Center, the celebration of life for Chief Morrison will be set. Both events will be held at the Hagedorn Event Center, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Chief Morrison is scheduled for Thursday, the 10th, Chief Harwood on July 11th. These celebrations of life are limited to close family and friends and uniformed personnel. Their families have requested that the celebrations of life be private events for close family, friends, and uniformed personnel. Expressions of sympathy and condolence for the families and local firefighters can be sent to the the following address. This address right here. You want us to send your condolences to the families and the local firefighters. It can be sent to 5271 East Celtis Way. 5271 East Celtis Way, SELTICE Way, Post Falls, Idaho. The zip code over there is 83854. Battalion Chief Harwood. If you want to send him donations to his family, you can send them to 300 East Foster Avenue, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. 300 East Foster Avenue, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Zip code 83814. For Battalion Chief Morrison. Those wishing to contribute to the memorial funds, both Morrison and Harwood, can do so by visiting the IAFF.org/Idaho-LODD. Again, you can go there by visiting IAFF.org/Idaho-LODD. Okay? You can contribute to those memorial funds or to the First Interstate Bank over in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Okay? Does anybody have any questions about these firefighters that lost their life, or even firefighter Tisdale in the hospital over there in Idaho? Any questions? Renee Steffi's also put out a severe thunderstorm warning issued today from the Weather Service in Pueblo, Colorado for Custer and Pueblo, Colorado, 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts and $50 size hail. That's huge. If you guys are over there, you need to take shelter immediately. Take shelter immediately from that severe thunderstorm. If you're outside, get inside a hard house or building. Okay? Renee Steffi says a flash flood warning issued July 7th today, 5:39 p.m. Until today at 5:45, which is another, I want to say 10 minutes from now, for Chester, Pennsylvania, and Mount Holly, New Jersey. Flash flood warning. Go to high ground. Go to high ground. The Right Stuff said a fire watch warning in Spokane, Washington. It's getting pretty windy now. Those of you in windy conditions in Washington, Oregon, Idaho, California, Nevada, you need to very well be concerned about what's going on around you. Okay? Don't drop cigarettes or lighter devices on the ground. If you're found to do so, you may end up going to jail over it. You may end up going to jail over it. I'm promising you that. I'm promising you that. Does anybody have any questions about anything we talked about? Now, in regards to the Texas rain and subsequent flooding, I want to play this for you here, but I would ask that you all forgive any messages that come up here. I can't control these messages that show up here. In fact, let me take that down for just a second. Okay, just a second, guys. Just a second.
My name's Steve Jarvis. Do y'all want answers for what happened in Texas? You want answers? I have the answers. And you are going to have to do some research on how to get it. But there's your picture right there of Texas and the big flood. Okay, July 4th. And all those little girls missing, I bless them, bless their families. But I want to tell you, all of this flooding in Texas and Rainmaker has publicly available NOAA docs on their cloud seeding project. Everyone must start this investigation. If you want to know what happened, this is where you start. Everybody's showing all the flooding and everything. I'm giving you the documents, I'm telling you. So what you're going to do, you're going to go to the NOAA library, right? And you got to scroll down to the bottom of the page, but you'll see this is weather and climate collections. So you're going to scroll down to the bottom of that page there, and you're going to type in Texas. And what you're going to find is, you're going to find this, I've highlighted it here. You're going to find, and it'll tell you when they were seeding, okay? Because let's face it, folks, 30 foot of water in an hour at 4 a.m., people didn't have a chance. So when you get down here, what you're going to find out is it'll pull up a page like this, and you pull it up, and then it tells you the companies. Isn't that exciting? You want to know answers? Here's what you need to do. You need to call your governor, call your senator, call Chip Roy. He's a good one to talk to. And if Chip would like to talk to me, I'm right now working with 2 states writing weather modification bills that make it a crime, and it has huge penalties. I went to Washington, D.C., and I spoke and presented my new farm plan to Maha about creating 1 million new farms. You know what was the first thing in my farm plan? Stop weather modification. You know what they wanted me to do? Move it to the bottom or erase it altogether. You know why? Because they don't want you to know. Because weather modification is, I'm bone dry up here. I'm up here in my potato fields, and everybody else is soaking wet. So they can make it too dry or too wet. And I know this is hard to swallow, folks, and it's hard to wrap your head around. But here's what you can do. What it does, it shows West Texas WMA right here. Rain enhancement, hail suppression. It tells you on these documents. It tells you exactly. The company is Rainmaker, and that's who's doing the cloud seeding in that area. What you can do is on all these documents, there's tons and tons of these documents, but it's so much to read and go through here, but you can bring this up. Now listen, there is a Clear Skies movement. Clear Skies movement in Idaho. You need to go to Clear Skies movement. You go to that page. Tons of information there. You can go to Missouri Clean Skies. Go to that page there, Facebook page. I need you to start a Clean Skies or Clear Skies movement in your town. Okay, because if you're on these sites, you get all this information that we have, and it tells you and shows you all this stuff. So here's the company right here. If you go to X, you can see Rainmaker Technology Corporation. Go in there and ask them. Go in there and ask them. Were you cloud seeding down there in Texas? Go ask them. Go ask them. And here's the owner right here. Here's his account on X. Augustus Dorico. He's the guy that owns Rainmaker. Why don't y'all message him? Ask him, was he cloud seeding in Texas? I have all the plans to fix all of this. I wrote a farm plan for America. I also have a plan to make this all criminal. And if you have a House representative or a senator or governor that wants to talk to me, I got the plan, and I actually wrote the penalties. Hi, my name's Steve Jarvis.
Okay, hear that, guys? What happened in Texas was not a mistake. It was not natural. They cloud seeded that area before that storm hit. Then the storm slowed down, dropping all that rain there. That would not have happened if they hadn't cloud seeded. This would not have happened if they had not cloud seeded the area. So folks, please look what's going on. Kathy Payne is here in the chat. She has info documents um, for rainmakers for this flood. Tracy Brush Junkie. Yes, I'm always aware of Tracy Brush Junkie on YouTube. Okay, but please pay attention to this. Rainmaker did this. Someone paid Rainmaker to do this. Our government paid Rainmaker to do this. Okay? Richard Smith is here in the chat, and I echo what he said. He said, our weather is being played like a non-angelic instrument. It's like a fiddle. They're playing with it. They've known for decades now that if they seeded clouds, that it would rain. And that is exactly what happened here in Texas on Friday and Saturday. And I don't believe it's over. We need to stop this weather modification. We've talked about this before. We need to stop it right now. Right now. The Hurricane Helene that hit Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina last September. It should never have happened. Should never have happened. Not only did they see those clouds, but they turned on the radar devices, and when the radar devices are turned on, the storm follows the current from the radar devices that were turned on. The radar tracking devices that were turned on. That's what happened. That's what caused the Hurricane Helene last September. Okay? It needs to come to a screeching halt. You need to call your state senators if you live in the southern United States. I'm talking Arizona, Texas. I'm talking about Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, all the way up over in here to Florida, in fact, in Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina as well. Call your state senators, call your U.S. senators, call the U.S. congressman in your area. Again, if you live in Arizona, Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, South and North Carolina, call your state senators, call your U.S. representatives, and tell them to stop cloud seeding. Stop cloud seeding. An investigation has to take place. They've done some investigation already, but it needs to come to a screeching halt. They've taken it too far. More and more people have lost their lives. It has to come to a screeching halt. Plain simple. Plain simple. Now, I want to go over and talk about earthquakes now. Okay? I'm going to bring up the USGS map, even though I hate USGS. I'm going to bring up the map, and in the future, I'm going to have Earthquake 3D here within the next couple weeks. But I want to show you what I have here for you. Excuse me. Let's take down our banner, let's take down our webcam, and show you what's actually going on here. Okay? This is important. I would ask that all of you please stay and hear me out. Okay? Earthquakes. We've had a very strong 6.3 earthquake down just south of New Zealand. Very strong 6.3 earthquake hit New Zealand here. This happened this morning. This earthquake happened at approximately 8:53 a.m. Eastern Time this morning, just south of the South Island of New Zealand. This was offshore, 212 kilometers west-southwest of Riverton, New Zealand, offshore. I don't believe anybody felt this earthquake because it happened in the water. The ocean waters of the Pacific Ocean absorbed the shockwaves of this quake, but this is still concerning. This is not the first very strong 6 we've had here. We've had 6s. We had a 7.2 just about a month or so ago. We need to watch what we're doing here. We need to watch what's going on, because we're going to continue to see very strong earthquakes in this area. And in fact, over here alongside the North Island here, Scientists have said alongside the North Island here, they're expecting at least an 8.0 megathrust earthquake here. This is a subduction zone. You can see the earthquake fault line offshore of the North Island here. They are expecting at least an 8.0 megathrust earthquake here, a subduction quake. Today, there are 24 earthquakes here in New Zealand. A handful of earthquakes on the South Island. Most of the earthquakes are either on the North Island or north of the island over in the Bay of Plenty here. USBS never shows exactly what's going on unless they've got a hair up their butt and they're forced to do it. There are earthquakes hitting here. There are 3s and 4s and even some 2s as well. That's what's going on here. Now, we also have one earthquake up here in the Fiji area. This is, again, offshore from Levuka, Fiji. This is a 4.4 earthquake, guys. This is 530 kilometers deep. This is a very deep earthquake. Okay? It's a 4.6. Deep earthquakes propagate. Stronger, more shallow earthquakes. As a result of this earthquake, we're going to see at least a 5.4 large earthquake within the next 3 to 10 days. Sometime in the next 3 to 10 days, we're going to see a 5.4 earthquake hit either in this area or down here to the south in the southwest here in the Legacy Islands down here, or even over here into Vanuatu, the Solomon Islands to the west, or over here in Papua New Guinea as well. Okay? 5.4 earthquake sometime within the next 3 to 10 days. That seismic energy could also travel over here to southern Chile or southern Argentina. It's happened in the past, it could happen again. Okay? Let's go over here to Papua New Guinea here. This is the 4.2 earthquake near Kimbe, Papua New Guinea. Kimbe, Papua New Guinea. This again is offshore. Actually, no, they've got it offshore here, but they got it offshore on the description, but it's on the island here. 59 kilometers south-southeast of Kimbe, Papua New Guinea. This is a 4.2 earthquake, and quite frankly, 4.2 earthquakes are very disastrous here in Papua New Guinea. The people here in New Guinea don't have much money. They might earn $500 a year. They live in cardboard and wooden shacks. Okay? They live off the land here. If they have fish over in the rivers, they pull fish out of the rivers and they eat whatever they grow. When an earthquake of this size hits there, it does damage. It doesn't have to be a 5.0 large earthquake or larger. Yes, they've had those here. But 4.2 earthquakes can cause damage here. Those poor people here in Papua New Guinea. Okay? I've done my research. I believe in what I'm saying here. Let's go over here to Indonesia, northeastern Indonesia. This is a 4.8 earthquake here. 4.8 moderate earthquake. This earthquake is 82 kilometers deep, out in the ocean here. Well, again, USGS moved the earthquake. They cut and pick and move the earthquake here. This is 19 kilometers east-northeast, Wasai, Indonesia. This is on land. This is on land. 4.8 earthquakes can do moderate damage here. Okay? Wasai, Indonesia. Okay? Now, they're not showing a whole lot of earthquakes here, but there are. There are 24 earthquakes here in Indonesia, and USGS is not even showing but 2 or 3 of them. Sad day. Very sad day. Over here, I'm going to be talking about this volcanic eruption in a few minutes. This is Luotobi volcano here in Indonesia. It has erupted at least 3 times today. I'm going to talk about that in just a few minutes. However, further over here, okay, I want to talk about this. This is a large 5.0 earthquake over here, east of Java, Indonesia. 5.0 large earthquake here, 132 kilometers deep as well. Okay? 5.0 large earthquakes do damage here. They do damage. This is a large earthquake here. Again, these people of Indonesia do not have that much money at all. When a large earthquake hits, it's a devastating earthquake. Okay? Another earthquake over here. This is offshore from Java. This is another large 5.0 earthquake. It's on the earthquake fault here. This is on the earthquake fault, is the edge of the plate. This area has 7 tectonic plates moving here. Each tectonic plate subducts under the other. Each tectonic plate subducts under the other. This is a large 5.0 earthquake. I believe this is probably the Indo-Australian plate subducting under this earthquake fault here, underneath this tectonic plate. To the north, over here in the Indian Ocean. Folks, this is a different story. This is a totally different story. This is another 5.1 earthquake. However, it's over here in the Indian Ocean, in the Nicobar Islands. Okay? Nicobar Islands have been having these kind of earthquakes for some time now. Okay? I believe for the most part, this is out to sea here, out in the ocean. Nobody even felt this earthquake being here. This is 259 kilometers southeast of Port Blair, India, but it's in the Nicobar Islands. You can see the islands out here. Okay, one other earthquake out here, also northwest of here, is 113 kilometers southeast of Port Blair. This is also a 5.0 earthquake. 5.0 earthquake here in the Indian Ocean. Nobody felt this earthquake because it's offshore from any islands or anybody else that may have felt it. Large earthquakes. These earthquakes are going to move up here into Southeast Asia, over into Bangkok, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, and even up here into Myanmar where they have this earthquake here. This is a 4.4 earthquake here on the border between Myanmar and India. A 4.4 earthquake here between Myanmar and India. These two earthquakes in the Nicobar Islands, being as large as they are going to follow the edge of the plate here. They're going to follow the plate here up into Myanmar and India here. We're going to see more earthquakes here. We're also going to see those earthquakes go along the edge of the plate through the Himalaya Mountains. They're going to see seismic activity in the Himalaya Mountains within the week. That's going to happen as well. Again, the USGS has no earthquakes here, but there are. There are earthquakes over here in Afghanistan and Tajikistan here. USGS is not showing them. They're not showing any earthquakes in Iran and Iraq. What a joke. What a joke. They are showing one earthquake off the southeast shore of Crete here. Off the southeast shore of Crete. This is also a 5.0 earthquake. Look where it's at. Look where this earthquake is at. Okay? This is offshore from Crete. Yes, it is a 5.0 earthquake, but I believe it's far enough offshore, 33 kilometers southeast of Palikastro, Greece, which is over here on Crete. I don't believe anybody felt this earthquake here because the ocean waters here of the Eastern Mediterranean absorb the shockwaves of this quake. There are more earthquakes here, but USGS is not talking about. The earthquakes in northern Turkey, southern Turkey, and western Turkey and eastern Turkey as well. The earthquakes here, there are 26 earthquakes here. 26 earthquakes here in eastern Turkey and the Syria border region. Why? Because 2 years ago, almost 2.5 years ago now, February 3rd, 2023. February 3rd, 2023, we had a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake hit here. All the earthquakes that are hitting here now are aftershocks of those major earthquakes that hit here. Yes, there were multiple quakes here. Multiple quakes. Now we go follow the edge of the plate over here to western Greece, right here. This is a 4.5 earthquake here. This is far away enough from the western islands of Greece to not have any effect on anyone. The ocean waters of the ocean here absorb the shockwaves of this quake. This is a 4.5 earthquake, 70 kilometers southwest of Lixouri, Greece. Okay? Nobody felt that earthquake. There are dozens of earthquakes here I shouldn't say dozens. There's a dozen and a half earthquakes here in Greece. USGS not showing any. Earthquakes in Albania also. Not showing them. Earthquakes all over Europe here, they're not showing them. They're not showing earthquakes here in Italy either, which is a shame. Earthquakes over here in northern Sicily, over here in southern Italy here, going over here into the area around Vesuvius volcano. 22 earthquakes here, minor tremors and minor earthquakes around Vesuvius volcano. Vesuvius volcano is steaming. Vesuvius volcano is steaming here, folks. The volcano is getting ready to blow. The volcano here is getting ready to erupt. Okay? Earthquakes over here in north central Italy as well. Large swarm of earthquakes here. When that happens, we usually expect another large 5.0 plus earthquake here, and it's going to hit here. It will hit here. Again, they're not showing any other earthquakes in Germany, Switzerland, France, Belgium, Austria. No earthquakes being shown in Spain. No earthquakes being shown over here in the Azore Islands or down here in the Canary Islands, but there are earthquakes here. There is an earthquake over here in the north central part of the Atlantic Ocean. This is a 4.8 earthquake. Remember earlier this week, we told you about the 5.0 earthquake here in the South Sandwich Islands down here? Down here in the South Sandwich Islands, that seismic energy has moved through the the southern Atlantic Ocean. Now it's moved over here in the central mid-Atlantic here. We have a 4.8 earthquake here. This happens to be 10 kilometers deep, 6.2 miles deep. USPS is showing one earthquake over here in Bolivia. What a joke. What a joke. 26 earthquakes here in South America along the western shores of South America. Chile, Peru, Ecuador, and Colombia. They're showing one earthquake over here in Bolivia. This is a 4.5 earthquake. 4.5 moderate earthquake. This happens to be 241 kilometers deep. This may seem like it's deep, but it's not. It's still a semi-shell earthquake. 4.5 earthquake over here in the semi-shell area of Bolivia. This is over here in the Andes Mountains, though. This is in the Andes Mountains. Okay? Now, I told you I wanted to talk to you about volcanoes. I told you I wanted to speak to you about volcanoes. Guys, there are volcanoes we need to talk about. Okay? Again, I want to go over here into Indonesia here. Down here into Indonesia. Luotobi volcano erupted 3 times today. Right there. Here it shows a 3.0 earthquake, but it's far more than that. Very far more than that. Now, it has erupted 3 times. Explosive activity is continuing. A volcanic ash plume rose up to 48,000 feet high the first time it erupted. 48,000 foot high, 14,600 meters high, or flight level 480. Another major explosion happened there. just a few hours later. At 11:05 a.m. local time in Indonesia, a Vulcanian-style subplinian size eruption generated a huge ash column rising up to 63,000 feet high. 63,000 foot eruption here, 19,200 meters high. That is up into the stratosphere. Up into the stratosphere. Guys, this is going to blanket ash all over Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, possibly all the way over into Fiji, the Solomon Islands, Fiji, and Tonga area, and out over the Western Pacific and Eastern Pacific. Okay? An eruption up to 63,000 feet high into the stratosphere, and yet another third eruption. The third eruption happened just an hour or so after that second. It happened and got up to 8,000 feet high. 2,400 meters, flight level 080. Big deal. Big deal. There are other volcanoes also ready to erupt. Luotobi volcano may erupt again. Luotobi volcano may erupt again. Now, I want to tell you about some other volcanoes that have erupted and are going to erupt. Please bear with me here. I want to tell you about what is actually going on. You need to know this. I would hope you would. Okay? It's not ending. We are going to continue to see earthquakes and volcanoes erupting. We're going to see a lot of them, a ton of them. We told you about Luotobi volcano, but it's far not just the only volcano erupting. A big deal. Suwanezi-jima volcano south of the islands of Japan also erupted. Very large eruption. Sakurajima volcano also erupted over in central Japan. Sakurajima. But Shiveluch volcano over in Kamchatka, Russia also erupted. Big deal. Shiveluch volcano in the Kamchatka Peninsula has been erupting off and on for the past 10 years. 5 years ago, Shiveluch erupted up to 85,000 feet high up into the stratosphere. USGS denied that it erupted, but 2 days later, because we had talked about it on this very show, they decided they had to come clean, and they had already come clean and said that the ash was already over Alaska. It was already over Alaska. USGS does not always think with their brains. They just don't do it. Shiveluch volcano in Kamchatka Peninsula erupted up to 13,000 feet high. 4,000 meters high, flight level 130. Kirishima volcano over in Kyushu. Some eruption happened here up to 5,000 feet high, flight level 050. Sakurajima that I told you about erupted up to 9,000 feet high, 2,700 meters high, flight level 090. Suwanezi-jima south of the South Island of Japan also erupted, but they don't have any identifiable information because there was cloud cover over Suwanezi-jima volcano. Ibu volcano over in central Indonesia also erupted. Now, Ibu erupts up to 7,000 feet high. 7,000 feet high almost every eruption. Yes, there have been times that it has erupted even higher than that, but today it only erupted up to 7,000 feet high. Luotobi volcano that I just got through telling you about erupted 3 times. 63,000 feet. Highest eruption. The eruption before that was 48,000 feet high. The last eruption, 8,000 feet high. Semeru volcano, Eastern Java. Semeru volcano erupted up to 15,000 feet high today. 4,600 meters, flight level 150. Over in Colombia, Nevado del Ruiz erupted as well. Nevado del Ruiz in Colombia erupted up to 19,000 feet high, flight level 190, 5,800 meters high. 5,800 meters high. South of Colombia, over in Ecuador, Sangay volcano also erupted up to 20,000 feet high. 6,100 meters, 200, flight level 200. Reventador volcano is a sister volcano to Sangay, also in Ecuador. Reventador volcano erupted up to 14,000 feet high. 4,300 meters high, flight level 140. That is the volcanic activity for today. Do we have any questions? Corjessa, we appreciate you being here. Thank you for being here. God bless you. We appreciate all of you for being here, guys. Now, please, before you leave here today, please give us a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this broadcast. If you've got any information, things that could help you, please give us a thumbs up for this broadcast. Also, you see our addresses floating by on the bottom of your screen, scrolling here. You see on the top, you see our PayPal and Venmo addresses scrolling across. If you want to help support this program, that's one of the best ways you can do it. I have not seen any super chats here. Super chats also help us, but you can donate to our PayPal and our Venmo locations at any time. Also, our address is below that, scrolling by. Our email address is rltnspdema@gmail.com. You see our regular mailing address also. Our mailing address here is 504 Bethel Road, Box 401, Morganton, North Carolina. The zip code here is 28655. You send us cards and letters, we'd appreciate that very much. Inside your letter, write your letter out about what you've done to prepare for emergencies and disasters in your family. Inside that letter, you can also stick a check or cash inside the letter and mail it to us. We've had that happen in the past. We haven't had it happen lately, but we have had cards and letters to us. Also in the card, the same thing. You can say hi, tell us about what you're doing to prepare, and anything that you'd like about the show or any suggestions you'd like to make. Put that in a card and send it to us. Inside the card, you can also stick a check or cash inside there to help support this program. We greatly appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions about anything we're doing here? Juby Joe says PayPal is her method. We appreciate that, Juby Joe. God bless you for that. God bless you very much. Now, guys, I know I was out of commission yesterday. Not necessarily under the weather, but out of commission. Just so you know, I've had a lot of pain in my back. Pain coming from my shoulders here, right here in the rotator cuff area, going all the way down my back, all the way into the low back area, all radiating from my low back, down my legs into my feet. Tremendous pain yesterday. Tremendous pain yesterday. I could not even do my Sunday school class. It was so painful. I was under medication most of the day and slept mostly in my recliner down in my living room yesterday because it had a vibrating method over in the chair, and I also had my heating pad there. Guys, I appreciate you being here. This is probably the only time in the last 6 years we couldn't have a Sunday school class. And I apologize for that. I apologize for that. But folks, I've only missed like 3 meetings here during the week. I've only missed 3 meetings in the past 6+ years we've been on the air. But I love and appreciate each one of you. If you guys have any questions for me, Canadian Warrior says, please rest and feel better. I'm hoping to do that when I get off the air tonight. Yeah, I was in a lot of pain. It was unreal. Sweet Polly Purebred's here in the chat. Thank you for being here. She says, lucky bum on the massage chair, Ron. Wish I had one. Yes, I have one, and I wish you had one as well. Ashley, thank you also for being here. I appreciate you. Now, folks, if you don't mind, I'd like to leave you with a thought here. I like to go over here to the scriptures and leave you messages from God here. Now, the Lord has given us a lot of counsel here. A lot of counsel. Over in Philippians, and I've given you these scriptures in the past, but I'm going here again today. Richard Smith is talking about a 4.0 moderate earthquake over in Chiapas, Mexico, southern Mexico. There are 26 earthquakes in southern Mexico. USGS shows none. Unreal. Unreal. Anyway, guys, I want to go over here to the 2nd chapter of Philippians. Then I'm going to go back to the 1st chapter. 2nd chapter of Philippians, verses 1 through 5. If therefore be any consolation in Christ, if any comfort of love, if any fellowship of the Spirit, if any bowels and mercies, fulfill ye my joy, that ye may be like-minded, having the same love, being of one accord of one mind. Fulfill ye my joy. Let nothing be done through strife or vainglory, but in lowliness of mind. Let each esteem each other better than themselves. Look not every man on his own things, but every man also on the things of others. Let this mind be in you, which also in Christ Jesus. In other words, do everything in the name of Jesus Christ. That's important. Now, again, there is rain going on in Texas. Renee Steffi said and issued a flash flood warning here in the chat from the National Weather Service. Okay? Milam, Texas. M-I-L-A-M, Texas. Flash flood warning. If you guys are in Texas, please go to higher ground now. Yes, Texas does not have mountains, but they have foothills. They have small hills. Go to higher ground. Canadian Page says, I need to stop chasing Carol around the house. Yeah, I do. I'm getting too old for that? Not necessarily. Dave, you're unreal. I appreciate you, brother. Juby Joseph's vibration plate evidently helps with inflammation as detox. I agree. I do have that vibration in the chair. Now, I want to also go over here into the 1st chapter of Philippians. First with verse 27. Only let your conversation as it becometh the gospel of Christ. Why? Because Christ wants us to be good. He doesn't want us to be spreading gossip. He doesn't want any violence being spread to other people. He wants us to be a peacekeeping people. Let your conversation be as it becometh the gospel of Christ, that whether I come and see you or else be absent, I may hear of your affairs, that ye stand fast in one spirit, with one mind, striving together for the faith of the gospel. Now, the next scripture I'm going to take you to is in the first chapter also, in verses 3 through 5. These three verses are by far one of my favorite sets of scriptures here in the Bible. Okay? And these pertain to all of you. These three verses pertain to all of you. I thank my God upon every remembrance of you, always in every prayer of mine, for you all, making requests with joy, for your fellowship in the gospel from the first day until now. Folks, that scripture's from me to you. Please know how much I love you. I respect you. Okay? Long time ago, I was shown that scripture by a family friend. And since then, I have had it marked in my scriptures for years and years, and I frequently show it to those people that I care about. And that's why I'm showing it to you today. I love you. I care about you. I care about you. That's why we're here as often as I possibly can to tell you about what's going on around us. We need to be prepared. We need to be prepared. I think the death toll in Texas is going to be sky high. It's already 95 people killed. I think it's going to be sky high. It's not going to stop, at least for a while. I ask prayers for the people in Texas. I ask prayers for people who lost their friends and family. May God bless you. May God bless also those people who lost their family members, daughters and sons there. I can't think of any worse thing that ever happened than to lose a child. The flooding is still ongoing here in North Carolina as well. Guys, please pray for the people in Texas. Please pray for the people in North Carolina as well. I ask God to bless each and every one of you. I ask God to bless everyone that stands in need of blessings. Heal hurts, heal pain in people's lives. May God be with you this day and always. If anything else happens today or tonight or in the morning, we'll be back here on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. Until then, guys, have a good night and a better tomorrow. I ask God to bless you. God be with you until we meet again. We'll see you on the other side. Good night, everybody. Much love. See you soon. As Walter Cronkite would say, and that's the way it is. Monday, July 7th, 2025. For Emergency Management Associates, this is Ron Tyler.